Hello my friends, here's a massive batch of 50 free VR games that I've recently discovered. All of the game links can be found in the video description below. Let's get started. Dire is an action-packed racing game. It's like if the Mad Max and Sin City movies had a baby. You're racing forward inside an apocalyptic wasteland and a vicious sandstorm is coming up behind you. But of course there are bad guys on your tail as well, so you need to keep going as fast as you can to avoid getting sucked up by the sandstorm, as well as trying to run the bad guys off the road. This game is so fresh and different from the rest on this list, but it's also incredibly challenging. In Hammerspace, you're in the middle of an arena and polygon men are running after you trying to kill you. But behind your back, you have an interdimensional inventory system which you can summon random things to attack them with. And the supply is truly endless and random. Half of the fun is seeing the different wacky props that will appear. The destruction effects in here are big and satisfying. It's really fun to kill these polygon guys. This game feels like a cartoon version of Superhot. It's a short demo, unfortunately, there's only 2 levels, but it's great casual fun, and I highly recommend it. Spellbender is a short RPG where you play a mage in training who learns their first spell. And of course, evil forces show up, so you need to fight them. For a free RPG, I was impressed with the graphics and how much there was to do in here. Now granted, it is short at 12 minutes, but previous to this, I was used to Akin's Call, which was like 5 minutes long.
They did steal the shadow pistol.
The spell you learn is basically a Hadouken spell, and it's very tricky to aim, so most of the time I would just move up close to enemies to fire at them at point-blank range. Besides the combat, there's also some item hunting and exploring as well.
Take the crystal and gather your backpack, some food, a map, and keys to the mansion.
So of course it is short, but for a free VR RPG, I was all around impressed. In A Good Turn, you are a reclusive father and you're searching your camping bus for clues as to what might have happened to your son who might have been kidnapped. There's some interesting interactables here like a stovetop, matches, and so on. You pick up objects with the grip button and you activate objects with the trigger button. It feels like a small escape room experience and it's overall well made. As you explore the bus, you'll find drawings, letters, and notes that give more of a backstory as to what's happening. And I found the story pretty engaging. After playing for a while, either I got stuck on something, or there isn't an ending to the game. I couldn't figure out which one. Try this yourself and do let me know if there actually is an ending, because I would like to know what the ending is. Additive Spectrum is one of the most challenging multitasking games I've ever played. There are 3 towers feeding light beams into a prism in the middle, and you lose the game if the prism gets too dark or the colors become unbalanced. There are energy balls flying from the center toward each brick wall, and every time an energy orb takes down a brick, that beam of light from that tower is weakened. So you need to keep teleporting back and forth between the 3 towers so that you can attack the energy orbs with your sword. Doing so creates bricks that you can use to resupply the brick wall behind you. So between the teleporting, attacking the orbs, and repairing the brick wall, on each of the 3 towers, there's a ton to do. You'll need a pretty big room scale to play this. You can see I constantly come up against my chaperone bounds. If you enjoy multitasking challenges, this is one of the most difficult I've ever played. The compound demo has been around a very long time, but when I showed footage of it in my CyberSiege review, I had so many people ask what this game is that I think it's important to give it another shout out. It's a totally original shooter in a retro style. There's multiple weapons to achieve, a fun reloading system, and you heal yourself by eating burgers. Each level is cleared after you've killed all the enemies. There's a much larger and polished version of this available for purchase on Steam, so download the demo, and if you love it, you can buy the full game. Ruberg is a creative sandbox that lets you create your own Rube Goldberg machines. When you first start the game, you can launch the demo machine, which is quite long and impressive as it encompasses the whole room around you. But after that's done, you can clear the room to create your own machine. There's lots of props and swivels to play with. The creative possibilities are endless here. For a free game, it's incredibly polished and well made. If you think this looks fun to you, then it's definitely worth a free download. In Space Breather, your spaceship is running out of oxygen, so you need to complete some nonsensical tasks to get the ship's oxygen flowing again. You'll have to think of creative and wacky solutions, like opening the window to let a bug out. It's a short and lighthearted puzzle game. Drive-Through Explosions delivers on its promise. In a graphically simple post-apocalyptic wasteland, you have objectives to complete and cars to destroy. You're pretty much always driving forward unless you press left trigger, which will slow you down to a stop. Your right trigger fires your gun. Complete your objective and eliminate all the enemies. I have to admit there's some real excitement to be found in here. I found the action pretty fun. But I will say if you're prone to motion sickness, you might want to stay away from this one. The Canyon is a wave shooter that pays homage to Space Pirate Trainer, in the way that when enemy fire comes close to you, time slows down. There's both flying drones and a giant UFO that plants crawly robots coming at you. To stop the crawling robots from appearing, you'll have to shoot the giant UFO. Out of all the free wave shooters I've seen, this is definitely one of the good ones. Tiny Escape is a miniature puzzle game where you need to get the beach ball to the end goal. You do that by clearing a course for the ball by pulling on panels and pushing buttons. I found the design and overall atmosphere utterly charming. I really enjoyed playing this, and it was over way too early for me. Xtreme Pogo Deathmatch fits the name perfectly, because that's exactly what the game is. On your right hand is a gun, on your left hand is a sword. Grab the pogo stick with one of your hands to begin the game, bounce up and down on the pogo stick on the platforms trying to not fall into the infinite void. If you hold the pogo stick with your left hand, you'll be using the gun on your right hand, and vice versa. If you hold the pogo with your right hand, you'll be using the sword on your left hand. If you play this, get ready to die a lot. But I will say, whenever you can successfully kill them with your sword, it's pretty satisfying. Cube Dancer is a dance-off between you and 3 different AI robot personalities. The robots will send challenge cubes your way either from their hands or their head, and you need to touch those cubes in response. This game is merciless, requiring quick thinking and very large sweeping movements. It's a serious challenge, and for a free game I found it surprisingly polished as well. If you have a large room scale and enjoy rhythm games, it's a must play. In Brosaurus Wrecks, you're a city-destroying monster, and it's up to you to cause as much damage as you can and earn a high score before the time runs out. You can grab almost anything and throw it. You can create a fist and smash it. Or you can breathe fire by roaring with your microphone. The first 3 missions are limited in scope, and they're like training missions. But the 4th mission is a free-for-all, where you can roam anywhere and destroy anything. I've played a bunch of free VR Godzilla games. This is the best free one there is. It's great destruction fun. Destroyer of Bricks is a breakout game. You certainly know how this game works, but there's a few new touches they added here which is pretty cool. At the beginning, you can customize the tilt and height of the playing board, which is pretty awesome. You can pick from a handful of levels and difficulties, and also choose the music soundtrack you want. But be warned, if you choose rock, you should watch your volume because it's incredibly loud. Encouraging each other, we held hands and defecated together is definitely one of the weirdest things I've ever heard from a game title. But the game itself is basically a speedrun arena action shooter. Evil mannequins are trying to kill you with their magic. And by killing mannequins, you get negative karma, and you want to get negative karma because after you get enough, you progress to the next level. At the beginning of the level, you'll be handed some weapons, but after you kill mannequins, you can get more weapons. So you basically just run around and kill every mannequin you can find. I really wish this game had music. That would really bring it home, I think. But if you don't mind the lack of music, and you're craving some more VR violence, then check it out. In Routine, the goal of the game is to get one of the remote-controlled cars into the green square, but you can't control which way the cars go. They follow a very specific sequence routine that you'll see on your left. All you can do is tell a car to go, and then if it stops or hits a barrier, you can tell it to resume again. If you get stuck, you can reset all of the cars back to their original position. This is a game that you could solve in a few minutes or few hours, depending on how lucky you are. TableAnxiety is an escape room game that seems to take inspiration from the Doctor Strange and Inception movies, since the room will rotate all around you, and there's some strange morphing and perspective shifting experiences going on. You'll need a pretty large room scale. I had to reach a little bit beyond my boundaries to get some of the items. For me, it ended in a few minutes, and when it was all over, I found myself in a very serene, relaxing setting. FreeClimb is an ice climbing game that's actually a speedrun challenge. At the beginning of every time you play, you get to see your last high score so you can try and beat it. Or obviously, if you play this as a party game, you can try and beat your friend's high score. The graphics are superb. They're the best in any climbing game I've ever seen. Trying to get to the top is very tricky, but also quite addicting. If you enjoy climbing VR games, then you have to try this. God Hand is a defense game where you need to protect your precious crystals in the middle of the level from waves of monsters trying to steal them. The game is in Korean, at least I think it's Korean. Either way, push the left button to start the game. You start with bare hands, which you can use to pick up and toss enemies, but most of the time you'll be grabbing a hammer. Every time you pick up a hammer power-up, you get 10 strikes out of it before you return to normal hands. But thankfully the hammers show up pretty frequently. You'll also find a magic staff that when you pound on the ground will cause a big explosion. Eventually things get pretty hectic and hard to control. Which is part of the fun after all. I will say that early on, when it's mostly goblins, it's pretty annoying with their constant whining and screaming. But in the later waves, when there's more variety in monsters, the sounds aren't nearly as annoying. Cubism is a zen and aesthetically pleasing puzzle game. You're presented with a 3D shape that you need to fill in exactly with Tetris-like blocks at your disposal. Things start simple, but the shapes get complex really quickly. Cubism is enjoyable, pretty, and well made. In Defenestration, you're inside an average office. But today is your lucky day because you need to rack up a huge debt by breaking as much expensive stuff as you can by throwing it out the window to break it and hopefully get more damage by harming passersby. But the walkers are probably technically robots. Anyway, it's a casual destruction game. Grab whatever you can in the office and toss it out the window to cause mayhem and rack up a lot of damage. Play this after a rough day at the office. Cabin Crew Crowd Control has you playing the role of a flight attendant serving people drinks and food on an airplane going from point A to point B. I have to admit that the people on this plane are quite forgiving. You can throw their scalding hot coffee or tea right on them, and they don't seem to mind at all. This game appears to be endless, but I have to admit that fulfilling these orders is satisfying for a few minutes. HVR Demo is a space Iron Man simulator, where you're flying around in space with superpowers needing to destroy 40 airplanes. I guess they're actually spaceships, but their intercom sounds like airplanes.
That's too fast. In my sight. Guys, I can't see him. Target acquired.
Anyway, your propulsion is from your palms, which is by using trigger, and you hold down the thumb pad to charge up a laser beam and then fire it at the targets. I found playing this especially exciting because of the movement system and the great sound design. The audio makes you feel like you're really inside an exciting battle, which is pretty rare for free action games.
Target lost. Who is this guy? That's too fast. In my sight.
Sit in my wake and render my life away.
Landgrab the Musical is a non-interactive VR short film featuring 3 songs that I think are about game development, featuring songs such as Vanishing Point Lover and It's All About the Scale Shift.
It's all about the scale shift. It's all about the scale shift. It's all about the scale shift. That's what they say, don't they?
I enjoyed this for how strange and wacky it was. It had me laughing out loud, but it's certainly not for everybody. Runtime is 12 minutes.
As time passes by.
Spearmint 1 has you manning a missile launch facility. You'll want to press the button that lets you silence the alarm right away, because that gets really annoying. After powering on the radio, you need to listen to their instructions very carefully to figure out which piece of paper you need to guide you through the missile launch process.
Yankee, Zulu, verification code, 109er.
It kind of feels like a complex, small escape room game. I found this pretty overwhelming and difficult. But if you enjoy complicated instructions and escape room games, this could be right up your alley.
ACOM.
TomatoRush is a classical 2D platforming puzzler. It's a flat-screen game, but it comes with a VR launcher. Personally, I could only get it to work with a keyboard, but it says it supports gamepads. When it first launched, the menu was way below me in the floor. After pressing R on the keyboard, it reset the view, and I was good to go. Be sure to turn the graphics quality on high, otherwise it's pretty blurry. The use of depth is done really well here. It's still a flat game, but there's perspective and parallax with the background and environments. And I can also look left or right to see behind or ahead in the level. This is very well made, and I found it enjoyable to play. If you're a fan of 2D platformers, you must try this. In Albina, you're a dog being sent into space, but the people that sent you have no intention of bringing you back, so you need to find a way to escape from the spacecraft as soon as you can. The end goal is to get the parachute out, but that's obviously easier said than done. While you're trying to figure that out, other disasters are happening around you, like losing cabin pressure, losing oxygen, power going out, etc. So you need to manage all these little disasters while you're trying to figure out how to get to the parachute. It's a well-made and frantic puzzle survival game. CyberSiege VR is a strategy action game with a lot going on inside, but I'll do my best to describe it. In a digital world, you're drifting forward on a platform. On your right hand is a gun with infinite ammo. On your left hand is a shield, but with your left hand you also control your minions. Your minions will move to and attack whenever you point and click on an enemy or a tower. When a tower is destroyed, they'll harvest energy from that tower. As you're drifting forward, red bad guys are trying to take you down. So you need to use both your gun and your minions to destroy all of their towers and units. On your right, you can summon more health for yourself or spawn more minions. On your left, you have a cannon. Press the buttons to aim the cannon left or right, and then you can fire the cannon to take down towers more easily. You'll come across gates with tons of enemies all around, and in those times you need to use all of your abilities as best you can to survive. It's a very chaotic game, but it's also very short. I beat it in about 5 minutes. Euterpe Explorer is a chill exploration and research game. Explore a planet's surface to get data on plants and animals that you discover, and then bring it back up to your ship to unlock the data on what you found. After you've done that, go back to the surface again to find even more data. It's a very unique and relaxing game that's a break from the usual action games. If you enjoy zen exploration and seeing new worlds, then give it a shot. Bulos is a color matching game that really surprised me. A sequence of balls are traveling through a level. You have 2 guns. On each gun is a color representing the ball that gun will create. You want to create more balls in the sequence because a set of 3 will make them vanish. And every time you fire the gun, the color of the gun changes. The sequence of balls will continue traveling around you through the level in a series of pipes. If the sequence of balls makes it to the end of the level, then it's game over. What makes this game especially challenging is that your bullets fire pretty slowly, so the travel time between you and the target is hard to estimate sometimes. And there's multiple objectives to juggle as well, because once you create a successful set of 3, a star will shoot out. If you shoot that star, you get bonus points, and after you shoot stars, even better bonuses will fire up out of pipes for you to shoot as well. So it's always tempting to go for the stars or the other bonuses, which distracted me from the main goal of taking away the sequence. As you proceed through greater and greater levels, there will be more colors to deal with and things will speed up as well. Before I played this game, I didn't think there would be much to it, but playing it, I was quite surprised, and I had a lot of fun. If you enjoy speed-based puzzle challenges, then I recommend it. Fruit Slicer is an obvious clone of Fruit Ninja, and while certainly not nearly as polished as Fruit Ninja, the slicing mechanics and the challenge are definitely there in this game. There's 4 levels. Some are indoor and outdoor, and some have 1 cannon firing at you, and some have 4 cannons firing at you. The levels with 4 cannons obviously provide the most challenge, as you gotta figure out where the next fruit is coming from. For a free Fruit Ninja clone, it's not bad. Gate Prototype is a large obstacle course that will require lots of climbing. I feel that most obstacle course games are light-hearted and bright in nature, so this one is unique for its dark, moody atmosphere. If you love climbing games, then you definitely need to try this. Goblins VR is a VR Lemmings game in a blocky voxel visual style. The control scheme is a little weird, it takes time to get used to, but once you get the hang of it, you'll be up and running in no time. On your right hand, you have a menu of abilities to give to the goblins. Press up or down to highlight an ability, and then with your left hand, you can select the goblin and activate the ability. Another important thing to note is that if a goblin runs up against a wall, the goblin will turn right until another path is open. I couldn't figure out why they were falling down because when they hit the wall I expected them to go back the other way, but no, when they hit a wall they'll turn to the right, either for good or bad. So there's a bit of a learning curve and it's a slower pace than I'm used to, but if you enjoy Lemmings games, this is a solid free game.
Safety levels exceeded. Work quickly.
In Antimatter, Containment, Operative, you're trying to stabilize an energy core. Shapes represent matter and antimatter. Put the proper shape pairs together to create clean energy reactions. The wrong collisions will destabilize the core. And if you have too many destabilizations, the game is over. One tricky mechanic though is that you're allowed to bring the wrong pairs together to create new shapes, which sometimes you have to do, but doing so will destabilize the core even more. So this game looks very simple on its surface, but it's actually very challenging. If you enjoy difficult puzzles, then I recommend it.
Safety levels exceeded. Work quickly.
Laser and a Peck is a Mission Impossible type challenge, where you're surrounded by a laser net and you need to grab the mug, pour yourself some coffee, and drink the coffee. I found it incredibly challenging and near impossible. Give this a shot and let me know if you can achieve it. Alien Makeout Simulator is one of the most strange VR experiences I've ever had.
Why don't you come over here?
At the beginning, you choose which alien date you would like. Would you like to have a date with an alien male or alien female? Your alien date has several sets of lips. Certain sets of lips will light up, and it's those lit up lips that you need to make out with within the allotted time. If you can keep up and keep making out with the alien before the time runs out, then they will fall in love with you.
Let's go back to my place.
Playing this is surreal and hilarious. I think this would be a fantastic party game to play with friends, with everyone taking turns. Color/VR is a score-chasing, color-matching challenge. You need to slice the evil cylinders that are flying at you, but you're only allowed to slice the cylinder that matches the color of your sword. And with each strike, your sword may or may not change color. So trying to slash multiple cylinders at once is dangerous because your sword may change color between those two slices. It features a Zen soundtrack which matches the mood perfectly. It's certainly not a deep game, but it is far from an easy game. The game Alien TSA is a bit of a misnomer, as there aren't really aliens in the game, more like humanized animals. But either way, you're a TSA agent with a laser gun. The monitor in front of you will tell you a specific trait that only those people are allowed to fly, and you need to shoot every other passenger with your laser gun to make sure they don't get in. Your laser gun apparently uses a ton of energy because you need to replace the batteries in your laser gun quite frequently. You'll get annoying phone calls from all kinds of people which you have to acknowledge and then dismiss, without letting it distract you from your mission.
Hi, this is Jessica. I wanted to say to you and let you know that you're doing a great job.
Hello again, dear Doc calling. I just want to let you know that
I found this game fun, and it has a great sense of humor. There's even plenty of jokes inside the music track if you listen carefully. It's a fun and quirky casual game.
royalty free.
Castle Defender VR is a defense game with a creative mix of mechanics, the likes of which I haven't seen before. You're a giant protecting your castle in the middle of an island, and pirate ships are unloading soldiers all around you trying to storm your castle. You have 4 things that you can summon: knights, archers, healing potions, and bombs. All 4 of those things are replenished for free with a timer that you have to wait for. Once something is ready, you can grab it and toss it into the battlefield. So you're not controlling your units, because once you throw them in the battlefield, they work on their own, but you do have to think about resource management and timing. The healing potion, when you throw it on the ground, will heal your soldiers within a small radius, and the bomb, when you throw it, will damage only enemies within a certain radius. As the waves of enemies progress more and more, you'll obviously be struggling to keep up, so if you need something quickly, you can buy more units with the coin you've earned. And thankfully, purchasing units doesn't interrupt the timer, so your free unit will still come when the time is right. The game features a fun and cartoony visual style, and the audio design is good as well. I found this both refreshing and fun, and I recommend it. Serenity VR lets you take a virtual tour of the famous spaceship from the Firefly series. The attention to detail in here is really impressive. If you're a fan of the Firefly show, then I think you'll really enjoy this. And just like with the Serenity game, TARDIS VR puts you inside the Doctor Who show. It all kicks off with a tunnel-like TARDIS introduction, and then you're inside the headquarters. And just like with the Serenity experience, there's lots of attention to detail,
Exterminate!
and little things to spot for fans of the show. Technically, a game is a trippy and dreamlike experience that pays homage to the classic Windows days of cheesy graphics and floppy drives. The fun inside this game is discovering for yourself how things go, so I don't want to spoil it. But if you have some nostalgia for the old Windows 3.1 days, like I think most of you do, then I recommend it. In Lift, you're an elevator operator in the prestigious Westwind Hotel. Open and close the elevator doors, communicate with the guests via gesture motions.
Sorry, you were just joking around, right? God, sometimes that goes way over my head when I'm tired.
Drop them off where they want to go, and then pick up the next passenger. It features a cute atmosphere with good sound design and good voice acting as well. If you're in the mood for a slow-paced game where you get to hear about people's stories, then give it a shot.
Yes, we understand the design is outdated, but here at the West Wind, we value our roots and the history behind every piece of architecture.
In Mole Mayhem, you're an energy gun-wielding shepherd, and you need to protect your precious sheep from the evil moles trying to kidnap it. At first they come out of the ground, but then later they come from UFOs in the sky. Go figure. Shoot all of the moles to violently kill them with an explosion, because it only takes one mole to end the game. If you're in the mood for a strange but colorful shooter, then check it out. Plunker is a comedy narrative game where you're a secret agent on an airplane trying to find and defuse a bomb. It's unfortunately short, but I found it hilarious.
Did you seriously just let that shit get away?
It's totally worth a free download.
Your watch should help you out of any sticky situations. Good luck.
You can't stand up. What are you doing? The light is still on.
SanPatFactory has you working an assembly line in a sweets packaging factory. You need to keep up with the escalating chaos and wrap the chocolate bars and the cakes in their correct wrapping and put them back on the assembly line while discarding the trash. Things ramp up really quickly and it's fun to try to keep up. It has great sound design which really adds to the chaotic feel. I think this could be a fantastic party game with friends. Surveyor is a VR remake of the classic game The Sentinel, which was available on DOS and Amiga systems way back in the day. It's a strategy puzzle game. You start at the bottom of a landscape, and the Surveyor is at the top of the landscape. The goal is to build enough boulders to stand on so you are above the Surveyor. But to do that, you'll need energy. You harvest energy from crystals. Once you have enough energy, you can create robots for you to teleport to. So after you have enough energy, get to the top of the level, build some boulders, and then stand on top of the boulders to be above the Surveyor. The graphics and audio design are all very well done. It has a great retro feel, it's like you're playing a Tron game. The game page says there's 10,000 levels to play in, so if you're a fan of the original, or this looks appealing to you, you could find a ton of gameplay in here. Shift Shape is a multitasking challenge, which tests your ability to focus inside chaos. Your objective is to bring your friendly green pill to the glowing green circle. But the green pill, for some reason, resists being close to the green circle, like a magnet pushing it away. So you need to use both of your oddly shaped hands to push it to the green circle. But as more flying shapes enter the scene, if they touch the green pill, that pill will shrink, which makes it more difficult to push. And if the shapes touch your hands will change shape, which can really make it challenging, especially if your hands become circles or have holes in them. It's a simple but creative game that just might make you lose your mind. Sneak and Peek is a stealth obstacle course game, which is really all about precision teleporting. You have to get to the end of the level without being seen by any of the robots or triggering any of the lasers. To get through lasers, you'll have to crouch low to the ground if there's a gap on the ground, or stand up to avoid lasers on the ground. On your left is a minimap which shows you the line of sight that the robot guards have, and using the minimap is critical to make sure your timing is correct so you can avoid all of the line of sights of the guards and lasers. So it's a simple teleportation timing game. Well, that's it for now. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you see, please subscribe. See ya!